Okay, so very first thing that you got to do when opening up a barbershop is obviously you got to find a location. I found my second location because there's a place called Zappy's Pizza. It's really good. It's cheap like Little Caesars. I used to always go to it, and there was a Supercuts right next to it. Well, the Supercuts had said that they were only open from Thursday to Sunday due to COVID. And then the next time I went there, they said that they were only open on Saturdays. And I remember yelling at the door saying, just close already, because I wanted the location. And sure enough, I think like the next 2 times that I went, they weren't even open on Saturday and Sunday. Now I went a third time, there was a note on the door saying they were closing their doors. So I walked around that whole parking lot. I found the for sale sign or whatever, or rental sign, for lease sign, and I ended up calling that dude and finding finding out all the information, what they wanted per square foot, if there's a HOA, well, not HOA, but triple net. Triple net is basically HOA for, it's the common areas. So anyway, back to the question. You find a location, you talk to the people that are renting out the location to find out what they want per square foot, the triple net, if there is triple net or not. Then you send them a LOI, which is letter of intent. The very first building that I got, I did all this myself. I sent them a letter, but I had no idea that it was called the LOI, because I'm not into real estate. So the second building, I got someone to do all of that for me, that was into real estate. They wrote the letter and did all the negotiating for me, the free rent and so on and so forth. So long story short, you find the building, you send them a letter, you go back and forth and negotiate with them and see if you guys can come to a conclusion on how much it costs and stuff like that, and how much free rent, and if you're gonna get a tenant allowance. Like a tenant allowance is basically if the places looks one way and you need it to look a different way, then you get, sometimes they give you a tenant improvement allowance, and sometimes they don't. It's usually either or. They'll give you months of free rent, or they'll give you an allowance to hurry up and get it done so you can get business going. And then from there, so then you secure the building. You got to have good credit, of course. Secure the building, you pay the deposit. The deposit is usually a month's worth of rent. So in my case, my rent's $33. I paid $6,600, and then I got the key. And in my case, I had 3 months worth of free rent. So, and everybody knows I'm cheap, so I got it around Black Friday. And so what I did is all the big stuff, the chairs, the toolboxes, which I use as stations, I bought all of those on Black Friday so I could save some money, because I want to be cost efficient as possible. Obviously, I've got a big old bill coming up in a couple months, and I was trying to save as much money as I could. Then we went to IKEA and got the mirrors. We went to Home Depot, got the frame for the mirrors. I got a couple guys there in construction, so they put everything together for me: the chairs, the mirrors, the stations. The floor was already done, thankfully, because it was a Supercuts. And then once everything's together, then it's really just about hiring people and taking pictures of the place so you can put it out online, so you can try to get clients to come get the haircut, and then you can try to get employees to do the haircutting. After that, it's just opening the doors, and I mean, you continuously got to promote. There's where I said leave no stone unturned. Like I got mugs, I got everything you can possibly think of to try to promote the business, and I'm still doing that today. It's been 4 years later. I think everybody who becomes a barber wants to own their own barbershop. That's what originally motivated me, but just the fact that I was working in a shop, no disrespect to the last shop owner, but there was roaches in there. There was there was a guy living there. It was just too much. Like, and I knew I had to, like, I couldn't play with this profession. Like I said, I was 33 when I went to barber school, and I knew this was going to be the last thing that I'm doing. And the people that I was working with, it wasn't going to be the last thing they were going to be doing. They were going to go off to do other stuff. So I knew I had to get somewhere where I could grow, where I could expand, where I could scale my business. And it got to the point where, the owner, he wasn't a barber, so he didn't promote the shop. He just collected our money, and that was it. So it got to the point where I had to promote myself, so which means I had to pay Yelp $350 a month on top of what I was already paying them. And I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to do that and I'm getting all these clients and I'm giving other people clients, because now I can no longer take on all the work that Yelp is giving me, that's the perfect time to open up my own shop, and I can let other people cut these people, and I'm going to get a piece of it at the end of the day. So, and then after opening shop one, it was everybody knows I don't like to be too comfortable. So it was like, okay, every day come to work, cut hair, go home, and it's the same thing. It's repetitive. So I was like, what's the next challenge? Well, let me see if I can do this again in a whole nother city. I did it again in a whole nother city, and like I said, every chair was filled. So that led me to believe, hey, why can't I do this again and again and again and again? If Supercuts did it, then why can't I? And if you know the story of Supercuts, it was just two guys that worked in the shop, and they were like, fuck this, let's go open up our own shop. And they're across 50 countries or something like that. So the vision I had for my barbershop was just not a regular barbershop. Every barbershop in Oceanside, or every barbershop that I had been into, you walk into it and you only see one race of people. So you either going into a black barbershop, you're either going into a white barbershop. I actually worked here in Escondido at a Mexican barbershop called Los Panchos. They literally only played Mexican music the whole day. We watched I think I worked there a weekend, and it was Super Bowl weekend. We watched the Super Bowl in Spanish. So it was like, damn. And I opened up my shop in 2019, like right around the time all the racial stuff was going on. So the number one thing that I wanted to do was have a shop that when you walked into it, you didn't know who owned it, and you didn't know what race owned it, and you didn't know none of that. You just knew it was called Culture, and you could walk in, and that's exactly what I opened up. There's a dude from Mexico, there's a white girl from Idaho, there's a black guy from New York, there's another Mexican and white guy from the Bay, there's a light-skinned black dude from the Bay. So there's some of everybody in the barbershop, you know what I mean? So that way when clients come in, nobody feels, uncomfortable. Because like I said, when I worked at Los Panchos, I was uncomfortable the whole time. I think that's why I only worked there for a weekend. I wanted to have a kids section, which I did when I opened up Culture One, but that only lasted a few months. And I see why barbershops don't have kids sections, because the kids break everything and mess everything up. I wanted to have a pool table, but then I realized the pool table, it needs a lot of space. You got to have space on the side, and in all that space, that's like 2 barber chairs. And if barbers are paying $1,200 a month for a chair, that's $2,400 a month you're missing out just to have a pool table. So I still want to have a pool table. I just haven't got a building that's big enough for that. Maybe a Culture out of state, because everybody knows California is expensive. A lounge area. I wanted to have, which is why it's called Culture Barber Lounge, not shop. I wanted to be able to have like a mini bar, or either serve beer in there. I had only been in one shop at the time that had beer. And then come to find out, going to barber school, you can legally serve beer in a barbershop. You just gotta ask for their ID, or they gotta be 21, and you can't sell it. But so that was pretty cool. And then just like I said, a spot where people can still come to and sit down and watch the game, have a beer, roast one another, talk sports. A barbershop is a safe haven for a man, you know what I mean? You're supposed to be able to come there and hey, I'm mad at my wife right now. Oh yeah, you're mad at your wife. I'm mad at my wife too. You know what I mean? And get it off your chest. And that's what I wanted to have. And then one major thing I wanted to do was have a shop that you can literally just walk into and get your hair cut. Nowadays, most barbershops are appointment based. Like you have to have an appointment to come into the shop. And that's one major issue I'm having with Shop One after leaving is everybody's appointment based. So now when a regular person just walks in off the street, they're feeling less than because you got people coming straight from out of their car, walking straight to the barber chair, and they're just sitting there. So now I'm getting complaints and, you know, reviews that, hey, this barbershop this or this barbershop that. And me, I've been a barber 8 years. I've never taken appointments because I always feel like if you show up to work on time and you leave when it's supposed to be closed, just cut anybody who comes through the door and be time efficient with your time. You know, I feel like appointments are kind of, what's the word? I'm like bougie. You know, every barber's looking to say, I'm booked up, you know, and I just think it's like, it's prima donna. So anyway, yeah, that's it. I just want to have a dope shop that people can come to, which is why it's named Culture, and then the lounge is in there because just people can come hang out and chill.